Welcome. For many of you, welcome back. Welcome to this time of ongoing exploration and appreciation for what this phrase simply settle that comes from Patrul Rinpoche's self-liberating meditation. And the full disclaimers are in the descriptions. So just know that we're approaching this kind of from a bottom up sense, where over the last many sessions, this is our fifth actually, we've very gradually explored what simply settling could mean in a variety of contexts, starting perhaps with the most obvious, that sense of simply settling and laying down the burden of our weight to the support of the ground. And then we've seen how that ground can, in a way, be the Tao of mutual interaction, mutual flow, or these other universal qualities of the ways of nature. And so this is kind of a Taoist inspired approach where we, in some maybe easier contexts than mind, and today we're going to get into mind, some easier contexts than pure awareness, we can see what it might be like to not try to do something. What is it like to practice where it's not a doing? It's not a doing of practice. It's actually how we can, as Patrul Rinpoche says, simply settle directly into whatever is arising without altering it in any way. And I thought, instead of rambling on, sometimes I talk a bit at the beginning, can't help myself. I thought we'd actually just go into a bit of meditation, because I think one way or another, Patrul Rinpoche is going to nail us with his pith instructions, his pointing out of some of the hindrances of even great meditators, as he talks about in his meditation. And this is actually a kind of, it's the, in some ways, the most basic form of meditation, the most advanced form of meditation. I don't even know how to describe it. But this is the instruction that is very commonly offered as if it's very simple. And this is actually not how I tend to practice, because I actually found it so difficult. So if you've been on some of my other sessions, you'll see that I tend to not try and work with thoughts as much, and more that bottom up sense that we'll be exploring today of how everything else then can give us a way of relating even to thoughts, even to mind. But see if this rings any bells in terms of your own experience of meditation. So, welcome to close your eyes. Sit up tall but relaxed, whatever that might mean. Get comfortable, not too comfortable. And let's say, for simplicity, the object of meditation is our breath. And the practice is going to be to follow our breath. And when we notice that thinking has come up, perhaps even lost in thought, we gently, passionately, however we do that, let the thoughts go and return to the object of meditation, the breath. So you catch my jovial spirit with all of this. Is sometimes these instructions are given as if they are very simple and easy. Then we get into it and it's like, what? For some of us. And we'll just practice this way in a few minutes. And then bring in some of Patrul Rinpoche's instructions and see if they land for us a little bit more in the midst of a practice like this. And whatever is going on, reflecting here on this question of what is it that you're doing? And Patrul Rinpoche gives us a nice long list of some ways we might be going about this in a doing kind of way. one can be that we are drawing the mind outward, like the feeling of the breath is outside of us, an object outside of us. Drawing our mind inward. As if the object of meditation is inward. So it's like we could be trying to go someplace for meditation, out or in, one or the other. And we'll come back to that one. Perhaps we are becoming more aware, paying attention to the objects of thoughts. Perhaps we're even kind of chasing after thoughts. Where'd it go? Or we might be anticipating thoughts. Patrul Rinpoche says this so in a fun way, like a cat anticipating a mouse. We're on the lookout for that next thought. That attitude of a doing. Or even trying to block thoughts from arising at all. Like give these options. You might even feel into what would that feel like to sit here and try and, in a way, do something that blocks the arising of thoughts. And that might even help us to see that spacing out, making the mind vacant, is also a kind of doing. Or there can be the more obvious kind of control, a doing, where it's like we're trying to squeeze our mind into a particular way. as Patrul Rinpoche says, staring intensely. We're going to try and squeeze and force our mind into good meditation. Well, I don't know about you, but for me, I feel like there's many, many ways that Patrul Rinpoche has nailed me about ways I tend to try to do something to meditate, especially if I'm meditating from that sense of what to do with this, monkey mind as thoughts. And so just another couple of minutes here of seeing what it would be like to follow the instructions of an object of meditation and letting go of thought. And see if there's a particular flavor of doing that you tend towards in a meditation practice like this. And maybe let's say that's enough of that for now. And as I shared in the description of this series and why I was so drawn to the approach that Master Wanchel Park offers, or this sense of the Tao is already there, and our practice is this laying down the burden and appreciating the way of nature that we're a part of. I really needed a very immediate and concrete way to help myself simply settle. I think each of us have to find our own way in towards what works, given our mind, some of our unique circumstances, and where we are in any particular moment. And in a moment, we're just going to lie down and go through the progression that we've been building up, these stepping stones. And as inspiration, here is a way we can consider that it might allow us to be able to work with thoughts, but in a simple way. As Patrul Rinpoche says, simply allow the mind to rest directly in thought whenever there's thinking. Wait, I'm not supposed to drop the thinking and go back to real meditation. No, simply allow the mind to rest. Simply settle directly in thought whenever there is thinking, and in non-thought whenever there is no thinking. And that is it. And that is it, he says. Simply settle directly in thoughts whenever they arise, and in non-arising whenever they do not. So you can settle into stillness whenever the mind is still, and into the movement of mind whenever it stirs. What might that be like? Well, let's start by simply settling directly into the ground. You're welcome to send a signal to your whole system, whole body, that this is not going to be about a doing, a trying, just by laying down completely. If you have the space, and if that feels good for you. And as you land here, noticing that there's a practice, but there's not really a doing. The nature is already going on, where we're drawn to the ground, and the ground fully supports us up. We might have some pockets, discovering something around my shoulder, neck, arms, hips, legs. some pockets of propping up and extra holding and tension and doing as if we need to hold ourselves up. And we can practice simply settling directly into the mutual flow of body and earth. We talk about it even as laying down the burden. Simply settling. And yet it's just this recognition that it's already that way. And the relaxation that allows for. Maybe especially noticing the hand. And how the hands can simply settle into the support of the ground. And there's nothing extra for the hands to do. It's this not doing. Then you're welcome to either stay fully laying down or may like to now come back up to sitting. And can feel the hands simply settling into the support of the lap. And then we'll begin to wake up some of the more finer feeling, starting in our sensitive fingertips, perhaps by spreading the fingers slightly. Feeling the space in between the fingers. The air touching all around the fingers. You may even like to feel as though the breath is flowing in and out through the fingertips. Just to allow the fingers to feel more subtle and refined, alive. And as we feel the fingers, beginning to feel into feeling process itself. Now we don't have to go out to our fingers. We don't have to draw the feeling of our fingers inside of us. The fullness of our fingers is just there and here. Just is. Without any particular effort. Or extra movement of mind. And what might it be like to simply settle in the immediacy of that flow of feeling, where it is. And rest. And what might it be like to allow our whole feeling scape of feeling of our body to be flowing just like our hands. And this inseparability of perceiver and perceived. Where there's no need to go out to any part of the body or to draw any part of the body in as an object of our attention. And feeling how sometimes the body is moving more as we breathe, and sometimes there's these moments more of stillness. And what it might be like to simply settle into that feeling scape of the body as a flow of nature. That includes movement and stillness. Just notice if there's a movement out, a movement in of mind, seeking outward or drawing inward, or any chasing or clinging, squeezing or forcing, blocking or spacing. And remember how our hands can just lay down to our lap. The felt sense of not doing that's supported by the way things are. What would it be like to simply settle directly into the nature of your body, mind, of perceived and perceiving, right where it is and as it is. As a not doing, as a simply settling. And how even as we're feeling the body, we are feeling the mind. We're either allowing the mind to simply settle into the experience of body that is already arising. It's part of the nature of awareness. Or we're doing something extra. And it's probably a bit of both. And now an invitation to let yourself feel more the very edges of your body, where the air comes in contact with your skin, clothes. And see what it's like to begin to feel more the space around your body without a sense of going outward, outside. It's the similarity in or out, all, both perceived and perceiver. Until maybe you find yourself with more sense of the space all around you, the walls to the ceiling to the floor. And how that space is filled with a soundscape. Of various sounds in space that arise from silence and go back to silence. Perhaps for us here, most evidently, sometimes there's the sound of my voice. And sometimes there isn't. And what would it be like to simply settle directly into the nature the flow of sound when there is sound? Simply settling not into the content of words or concepts, but into the very nature of this flow of nature we call sound, when sound is arising. And when there's not sound, to settle directly into the stillness and spaciousness of that not arising. Sometimes there's more sound. We can settle into the very nature of it, the flow of it, just like any other flow. And when there's barely perceptible sounds in our experience, we can settle directly into that. And just noticing that this settling is not a settling outward, not a settling inward. If it has any direction, it's towards what is. I'm gonna make up a word on the spot and call it is word. It has every direction and no direction. Are these sounds happening outside, inside? Does that even make any sense anymore? It doesn't really matter what the sound is or the relative silence is. It's not about the content. Not about one over the other. So there's no need to anticipate or chase after or block out or squeeze. Whatever sound, whatever silence, whatever movement, whatever stillness arises. You can simply settle into the very nature of that arising. and rest. And abide. Moment by moment. Whatever arises, without altering it in any way. It already has its own nature. And we just settle into. And now beginning to listen as well to thinking when there's thinking, and to the silence of non-thinking when there's non-thinking. Remembering we don't have to draw ourselves inward to experience the mind and its thinking and non-thinking. There's no place special to go. To pay more attention to. There's just this aspect of experience that we call thinking. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. And what might it be like to simply settle directly into the nature of thinking when there's thinking? And when there's barely perceptible thoughts, into the nature of that arising. It's a very subtle settling, as subtle as fineness of awareness itself. And it's definitely possible to psych ourselves out about it. Patrul Rinpoche talks about, do I understand it or not? Is there an object of meditation or not? Is this it or not? And all that too is a thinking. And one could simply settle directly into the very nature of that thinking. Just like we've done for sound, for feeling our body, for laying our body upon the earth. Maybe it's something we've been not doing all along. Maybe. Maybe it's even helpful to take what we think of as thinking and let it include all experience, all that we are aware of. And to simply settle into nature's flow, this way of nature that somehow includes the flow of awareness itself. And to simply settle into the nature of it all. And nothing in particular. And sometimes after a while, even the words simply settle become this idea. And then we are trying to simply settle into the idea of simply settle. Or as Patrul Rinpoche says, might have the idea of emptiness and then meditate on that. Kind of fabrication, as he says. And this is why for me, began bottom up and let's end returning to the bottom. What's so tangible and immediate in our experience. So letting the thinking and the non-thinking be part of nature's flow, the sound and the silence. Uh, perceiving, perceiver, perceived, experience of mind body. And the feeling of our hands just laying down to our lap or the ground. And the feeling of our body simply settling directly into the support of the earth. The not doing of that. And the comfort of it. The contact of it. The immediacy of it. Maybe with this practice that's a not doing, a simply settling, we can become familiar with that kind of practice, that kind of experience. Can grow in confidence and trust and find what it might mean to simply settle, even at the level of mind. And this completes our exploration for today. And perhaps taking a few minutes just to be And I know that some of you are already applying this practice in ways that will save the best for last. So we'll get into it next time. Of what about when things are difficult? Or even what about when things are great? What does it mean to simply settle directly into any experience? And I think that today's session was more about that stepping stone of making that leap to thinking and non-thinking. And for sure, meditation practice gives us lots of opportunities, right? Because for many of us, right, thinking is not good in meditation. We get frustrated with our thinking, and not thinking is good. So already it gives us not only a way to practice with thoughts or no thoughts, but a way to practice with some of the emotions that come up around that, and the judgments and the striving and the trying and the whole rigmarole. Becomes a very fertile ground for practice. And though I would not be one to say it's easy, and this is something that I come up against when Master Park is teaching as well too. It's like, well, it's a good thing. I said, sometimes I find myself saying it's a good thing it's simple. It's a good thing it's simple because then it makes it easier. And thank goodness it can be a little bit easier. So Patrul Rinpoche, and he can say, and he's the one who knows. I do not. Again, I want to be very clear. I do not claim to know what he is saying. I am not at all trained in Dzogchen. I don't even consider myself a great meditator. So with all those disclaimers, I think I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that? No, the fertile training ground. The whole rigmarole, we can say that it's, yes, he can say it makes everything very simple and easy. Simple and easy. And I would just say it gives someone like me a chance where, and if the meditation instruction that is so often kind of typically given, if that works for you, I'm so glad. And it didn't really work for me. I think that's why I'm motivated just to share how we can give ourselves a chance to experience. And it can start just lying on the ground. And that continues to be a practice after 10 years for me that continues to reveal more and more of my own holding, more and more of my own illusion of separation, and more of the ways that I try. And one way we can think about these stepping stones is like, yes, they're stepping stones that can lead us all the way to perhaps nature of mind. But the nature of mind was with us all along. We're not actually going someplace else, as Patrul Rinpoche so often makes clear for us. So really we could just stay with laying on the ground and what it is for our mind to perceive that support. Inseparable from the perceived. That as we simply settle our body into the ground and into that mutual flow of nature, that's already our mind simply settling directly into what is arising. So since we can't escape our mind and our awareness with whatever we do, whatever we practice, in some ways the most, you could say, advanced practices are already embedded in anything that we do. Or at least that gives someone like me a chance to get to feel a different kind of experience than the trying to alter my experience, which I'm very familiar with. I bet many of us are. Well, let's see what you all might have to share with your experience and anything you noticed here in the session that we explored together. Check in with you all. I have to scroll back up. Hey, David. Hey, Vagabond. And wonderful people. Yeah. Marta, Swissar. It's so great to see the old timers coming back. Kelly, welcome. I think perhaps this is your first time here. Donna, you liked my is word. Every direction is toward what is. All right. Yeah. You know, sometimes the things that come up for me in front of y'all, who knows? I would probably never think of such a thing on my own. Wayne, I just joined. Welcome, Wayne. Swissar, hearts back to you. Let's see here. Vagabond, I love how he says in the meditation, if your mind is racing, settle into that. Terrible paraphrase. Yeah. Oh, so glad you're going to the source. Let me go ahead and post this. So, there it goes. So, Insight Timer, Samaneri JSR, amazing reading of Patrul Rinpoche's self-liberating meditation. And that's what Vagabond here is speaking to. I was actually saving some of that. It's really interesting too. Some of the nuances of abiding. So his quote is there's an aspect of simply settling directly into that. You know, when your mind is racing, thinking of everything under the sun. And then there's a sense of really abiding with even the racing mind. Vagabond, and your is word is pure gold. Oh, thank you. So just to complete that thought, there's I was thinking about this next time. In addition to the kind of some of his lines about emotions, or about how, you know, we want to simply settle into something and look when it's positive. But not so much when it's not so positive or flattering for ourselves. And in addition to that, there's just, I appreciate his nuance, because sometimes, I don't know if you've encountered this, but sometimes I'd say, because this is a non-dual teaching, so sometimes in non-dual practice, it's like, oh, you know, if you try to do anything, then if you make any adjustment, then you're not really getting it. You're not really having that sense of simply settling into everything just as it is. And Patrul Rinpoche has this great line about how, you know, he has this kind of thing, like some great meditators, that's one of his refrains, some great meditators have that sense of, you know, they don't alert themselves or relax as needed. And he's like, and this is a little too contrived. So you can imagine someone being like, self included, oh, I just need to be, right? So if I alert myself in meditation or relax myself in meditation, then I'm altering. And what does he say over and over again? You know, to simply settle without altering in any way. And I really appreciate that nuance, where it's like, you part of abiding, part of simply settling is to actually know where you are, to know what's going on with yourself, to know what you need. But to not do it just as a technique or a method, or as a should, but as a responsiveness to what you need. And there's a lovely line right after of, you know, then simply settle directly into the naturalness of that choice. So there's just, endless nuance there. And also with like thinking of everything under the sun, where like you abide with that all over the placeness. Endless explorations, endless. Firefly, thank you for this session. Much appreciated, Firefly. Good to see you again. Emily. Emily says, I just wrote down Donna's is word quote. Yeah, brilliant, Donna. David, and thank you. Your sharing is simply settling for my mind. So it sounds like this stepping stone worked for many of you, where it wasn't like we got to thoughts and it was like, well, what do you mean simply settle into thinking or not thinking. That there was a feeling for that. Swiss R, thank you. Back. I think Swiss R, you came long ago from the Tai Chi World Day. Do I remember you from Tai Chi World Day? You keep coming back. So appreciate it. See Matt floating by. Long time. You were one of the first, Matt. So appreciate it. Emily, I love what you say that this practice is about laying down the burden. So often I have wrestled with my thinking mind, assuming that I should change the state of it, and that really winds it up more. Yeah, that was my experience. That was so, trying to change it just wound it up more. And then I would add layers. So this might not be you. I'll keep reading in a moment, but it would wind up my mind more. It would wind up my emotions more. It would wind up my judgment more. I was like, gosh darn, this meditation's supposed to be helpful. That's why, like as I said in the beginning, I really don't tend to do meditation in like training the mind to work with thoughts, to let go of thoughts, to have less thoughts. It's this kind of bottom up that has been what has worked for me. So continuing, Emily, and that really winds it up more. But accepting all of that as really a part of my nature and welcoming the flow of it all together really is profoundly settling. Emily, I think that's very quotable. I hope others might be quoting you there. Accepting all of that as really a part of my nature and welcoming the flow of it all together. And that's like when we say simply settle. It's all this flow of nature all together. And whether it's thinking or more thinking, less thinking, positive thinking, negative thinking, it's this flow of nature. And we can simply settle into it as getting to experience it as that process, as that flow, as part of all together. And then I think we talked about this in the expeditions into boredom, right? It's like less of that game that we play, the drama of this or that. Less of the drama and more of whatever is arising if we simply settle it into part of the all-together nature of everything arising. There's less drama. Less winding us up, more truly settling. Donna, oh wow, you got to wisdom of the masters. Oh, you all did. And I'll just end again by saying, for me, where something like this can be simple, not esoteric, exotic, out of reach, but just so simple so that it can help me. I do not find these things easy. I don't find living easy. I don't find having a mind easy. But I find that it helps it be easier. That will be my final disclaimer. David says, often a new stepping stone makes a simple stream much easier to navigate. And meditation is often not such a simple stream. The more stones we have, the better. And where we get to take that next step, that first step, we can lie on the ground. We can lie on the ground, and our body is right there, and our mind is right there. Emily, it is what it is. Another favorite quote I repeat like a mantra. It is what it is. And that's a beautiful image, David. Thank you. Emily. I wish it wasn't just one way and y'all could talk to each other. Ward, hey, welcome. And I think I saw everyone else. Welcome to some new people here. See several people are staying on longer. We'll have one more of this series. And then we will go on to another exploration. Thank you. Your voice and presence are infinitely soothing as always. Hey, Ward. Thanks for saying hi. Hey, Matt. Good to see you as always. All right. Well, to quote Patrul Rinpoche, and that is it. Bye. Take care.